Hello, this is Peter Belt. I'm here with Mike Blady from Golden Ridge Resources. Hello, Mike.
Hey Peter, how you doing today?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I got a special guest for us today on the line. Chris Paul, BPX of Golden Ridge, is going to be joining me on this call today.
Wonderful. Hello, Chris.
Good morning, Peter.
Wild. Golden Ridge, what a run you guys have had in your share price and everything. The number of days with over 1 million shares traded, I can't believe it. I hope that the field work program you've been doing has kept you even busier than that.
Yeah, it's been a very busy a summer, both in the market and in the field. We've been one of the top traders in volume on the TSX Venture for, I believe it was 5 days in a row in August, which with all
Congratulations.
the excitement and hype going around in the MJ space, it was really exciting for our company, and it was great to get kind of our story out there. And I think the market has received it very well. We started off this year trading in the low teens and traded up as high as just north of 50 cents. So, yeah, it was great to get such a positive response from the market.
New all-time highs, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah, we set a lot of records for the company this year in terms of volume and all-time highs, and we're looking to use that as a good foundation and keep building off of it as we move to the future. I think our initial results this year from our 2018 program were good. The market positively received those results, and we still have 12 holes left to come out, and I don't think we've seen our best results yet.
Well, looking back last year at the high grade gold numbers that you did produce, I wonder how many people go back and check those numbers. I did so earlier this week. It's Thursday, September 20th, and there's lots going on in the mining world right now. It seems that, and in August, I'll mention as well the weakness in the gold price, and to have you guys go on a run at that point, that, goes to show the value of exploration and discovery and the potential for junior mining stocks to run like no other.
Yeah, even with the kind of more saturated market we have with cryptos and MJ stocks, people still truly love a discovery in the mining sector. So
Well,
it's good
and
to see that still lives.
to Chris there, how does it feel? Have you been involved in discovery quite like this ever before?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, certainly this is the biggest discovery accomplishment in my career so far. I'm a young guy, but the Williams Zone has far exceeded our expectations. When we had it last year, it was basically, we had a geophysical anomaly in 2017. We hand trenched it, and we found, of course, pretty spectacular mineralization and alteration on surface. But we had no information regarding the size of this thing. So, when we drilled hole one and we got that 327 meter intercept, I mean, that was far exceeded even our expectations in terms of the size of this thing. So, definitely very positive. And then, of course, we just released results from holes 2 and 5 here, and similar grades. Basically, hole 5 was pretty well identical to hole 1. Which is great. Shows us the continuity. This isn't just a one-hit wonder. This thing's got some size, and certainly one of the more exciting times of my career.
Well, and congratulations to you and everybody involved. I posted, I think, Friday last week about something that occurred to me when I was looking at one of these sections that you published. Thanks very much to the company for such fulsome disclosure regarding your exploration results that you've released so far. Those, full tables, downhole assay information, and the diagrams cross section with some of the geological features shown very helpful.
Yeah.
And the one thing that kind of jumped out at me is this high grade at the top of the mineralized body as intersected in the drilling indicated in one of the sections, and noticing how that's relatively close to a fault and other holes intersecting similar, indicating that, that there may have been another part of that top of the system that may have been moved downwards or something like that. And I've was, drawing a question mark down there on the other side of that fault, in regards to, is there some high grade material down there? Kind of like we saw more shallow above. What does this mean? Is that chalcocite blanket type stuff anyways? Like what's going on with that high grade copper gold? So I'll put that to you. If there's anything you'd like to speak to there, please.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not a chalcocite blanket. What it is that's where we get the bornite. The strongest bornite mineralization is right up against that fault. So basically our next round of drilling, we're going to be trying to target where did the other half of that high grade go. To the south, which is hole 2 there, which is where hole 5, which is where you saw that high grade. Basically, those holes were drilled on the eastern block of that fault, and they're drilled going west. So you go from this low temperature, what we call phyllic alteration, lead, zinc mineralization, typically stuff that overlies porphyry copper systems, and you go from this low temperature, and then you go across the fault, and you're immediately in this high grade, higher temperature potassic core of the system. You got the bornite mineralization, you got hematite, you got magnetite. So, to go such an abrupt change like that, I mean, it shows us that we've basically gone from, we've collared in this down-thrown block where, we're fairly certain that the other half of the porphyry has been down-thrown to the east. And so our next round of drilling, we're going to be stepping those collars back to the east, and we're going to be trying to target the down-thrown portion of mineralization. Now, that being said, as we move north, I alluded to in the latest news release, hole 13 had some visually quite strong mineralization to the east of the monzonite, and what's kind of showing is that fault, that same fault that we hit in holes 2 and 5, it's there, but it's more separated from the monzonite. So, east of the monzonite, you have this very high grade, what we're calling the hanging wall. The volcanics mineralized adjacent to it on the east, and we didn't basically have a chance to intersect that in holes 2 and 5 because that's where the fault had basically dissected it and what we believe down-thrown it. But then as we move north, the fault is more separated from it. You get a longer intercept. Typically, it looks like better grades, and so it's wide open to the north there, and with better grades.
I appreciate it. It's all good information here. Very grateful. Maybe a couple more questions if I could. One, you could probably deal with simply kind of out there, just wondering, the valley, thinking about that valley. I've looked at this area on Google Earth a few times, and there's, the valley with the Williams showing on one side of the hill. So it's quite a nice setup in some ways. I wonder if there's any thinking about that valley kind of indicating lines of weakness that may be related to the fault systems there, or if that's really, just some weird glaciation stuff that, doesn't really have a structural meaning or interpretation, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's always a question, right? You're referring to the Hank Creek, the main northeast sort of southwest creek there.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's always a big question. Anytime there's a major valley or drainage, that is it a fault? To be honest, we haven't seen any major evidence of faulting. We've done a number of geophysical surveys. We've done the air mag. We've now finished about 6 lines of IP which cross the creek.
Wow.
And what we've seen, is there is no offset across that creek. Basically, it's quite interesting. The historical operators, which was Lac Minerals back in the 80s, before they got taken over by Barrick, they've mapped all the epithermal gold mineralization southeast of the creek. And so that includes, the LAZ, the property's lower alteration zone, and basically they mapped it right up to that creek, and then they just stopped. They never crossed the creek. They never went over into the Williams zone, which
Imagine that.
obviously, we got to thank them for doing that, for leaving it for us to find later. But, I don't know if you've got the slide up, I believe it's page 11 here in the presentation, but you can see that yellow polygon on the map, that's the LAZ that they mapped it. That's how they mapped it. And they basically just stopped at the creek. So what we found, actually, interestingly enough, in these holes, so hole 13, hole 2, hole 5, they basically collared in the LAZ. So it does cross the creek.
Oh, Lord.
There is no offset. Well, at least it doesn't appear to be a significant offset across that creek. And of course we did the IP as well, which was, just yesterday I got some more preliminary data, because the crews basically just finished the surveying. Still has to be processed, but the chargeability anomaly that we got on line 200 and line 0, which are the next two slides in the presentation, those continue right across the creek. So there is no break. It basically, the chargeability anomaly from line 200 and line 0 goes right across the creek, connects with the LAZ, and it keeps going. So, to put that in perspective, the LAZ is about 4 kilometers long, and that's connects with the chargeability anomaly at the Williams. So that gives you basically the potential for the Williams. If the porphyry mineralization sits underneath, or just down slope of the LAZ, we got about 3-4 kilometers of potential strike length to drill on this. And of course that's speculative, but that's something we're going to be drilling in the next round of drilling in 2019.
Congratulations. That's wild.
And we'll be coming back with beefier rigs as well, which will help us kind of really truly test the system at depth. This year we're still using our fly rigs, and the new rigs we're going to be using are also heli portable, but they're able to go to about 1,000 meters depth, Chris, around there.
Wow.
Which the rigs we're planning to use for 2019.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, deeper. I mean, 1,500 meters. If you wanted to, you could go to 2,000 meters. That's what the drills were going to do here. I mean, this year it was, we didn't have plans for deep drilling.
Nope.
We were, obviously going to continue drilling the gold stuff, which we did, which, all starts at surface. So, all that stuff is much easier and more efficient to drill with a smaller, heli portable drill like the HydroCore 2000s. And of course, we wanted to test the Williams zone on surface. And as I said earlier, the size obviously exceeded our expectations. So, now it warrants bringing in the bigger drill. And I think important thing to recognize is, you look at GT Gold, the Saddle North. I mean, they pulled an absolutely spectacular hole this year. And, an important thing to look at is, they drilled that hole last year, right? With the smaller drill.
I was going to say they drilled that hole last. There was a.
Yeah, right. And they were just getting into it, right? So it just shows. I mean, there's a whole cluster of porphyries. You got Red Chris, you got North Rock, you got obviously Saddle North now, you got Ball Creek, you got Williams. These are all extremely similar geology. The Williams and the Saddle North, they share all the same alteration, mineralization, all the same characteristics of Red Chris. And these systems go to depth. I mean, you look at Red Chris, it was, Red Chris was discovered in the 60s. It was 2 small showings, probably, the size of, the Williams as we know it now, as we've drilled it so far. And it wasn't until, I believe, the late 2000s that Imperial Metals came in. They got some deep drills, they got some A5 drills, and they realized, holy crap, these things coalesce at depth. And these 2 showings, 4 kilometers apart, actually merge at depth.
They were just one big one.
Well, and that's you know, that GT gold hole, if for anyone who hasn't seen the core, seek it out, contact the company and ask for pictures, because what they were showing following last year's drilling was just stupendous. And I'm sure that this stuff this year will be a highlight at shows to come, for people, geologists, to see it in person. And to what you just said there, guys, somebody came on CEO.ca recently and said hi, and what's the deal with Golden Ridge? And they were asking the geology, and I said, well, KSM and Valley of the Kings, like, probably not, but a fraction of that is a big deal to my mind. And the potential for a single system, right, to have some porphyry and some of the other vein stuff all in one property. You just alluded to it. Is it a relevant model to be considering here for Golden Ridge at the Hank?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the Golden Triangle is full of very large, elephant-sized deposits, right? So, a lot of the stuff on surface has been found, and it's now moving forward into 2018. We got to focus on getting smarter with the drill and drilling deeper. And okay, now we have the Williams, which was basically it was at surface, but it was down in the tall trees, so no one ever looked down there. And below the LAZ, on the other side of the creek is the same thing. I mean, you got 50-foot, 100-foot tall trees down there, and Locke, of course, they never bothered to look at that stuff, right? They were up high, where the rocks are exposed above timberline, and drilling the big Gossens, and there's monsters out here, and there's these things go to depth. So there's it's obviously early days to be using some of those KSM deposits as analogies, but the potential is there, right? Why not?
Yeah, and you look just at the alteration in the LAZ and the UAZ, and you see it stretches for kilometers. That didn't come from a small shear or a vein. It came from something large at depth, right? So that's now what we're focused on targeting. These IP lines we just completed. I think the longest line was 6 kilometers, I believe, right? We did some
6 kilometers, yeah, which is good. We get 200-meter dive holes, which is wide spacing. Allows us to see at depth on these things, and we're seeing things that the historical operators didn't have the chance to. They didn't have the technology to seek that deep. I mean, even Locke, when they were in the 80s, when they were drilling, they were using tiny drill rigs, BQ sized core, which is little pencil sized core. I mean,
wow.
1989 they drilled 11 holes on the LAZ. They lost every single hole.
Yeah,
they got the rods because they didn't have the the rigs just weren't equipped for
and the muds as well.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. Believe it or not, people think, drilling hasn't come a long way. Oh, it's just a drill, but,
yeah.
And believe it or not, there's been a lot of advances in drilling technology and muds and things like that are allowing us to go deeper for, lower costs. So.
Well, and use that hole and use it again, wedge off of it, back up. I hold out hope for the future when we have kind of reorientable core, that can point around in any direction almost. I don't know if that'll ever be a thing. You might need some new tech breakthroughs to get, drill bits with computers and all kinds of sensors down right at their head. But the future, wild.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's exciting. And one of the things we've been just talking about here now that we've kind of got back into the office is looking at some downhole instruments that we can use next year to get better ideas on kind of the joint sets, the veining, where we can actually kind of see it in real time, whether it's acoustically or visually with cameras. So yeah, there's lots of great new technology that's coming on the market that's going to allow us to hopefully advance this thing at a much more rapid pace starting next year.
And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Thanks for having such fulsome disclosure. All those photos, across the whole, the entire hole, more or less, very much appreciated. All the whole numerical assay information, much appreciated. There's people out there working with this data that you're sharing in ways that, just isn't happening for most juniors, but is really important for creating a crowd and an audience for your message and your accomplishments and all that. And obviously work well done this 2018 season, the first real full season for the company as a public company. And I think it's reflected in the new all-time highs in the market there. I know old hands who say that's, if you're really bullish on a story, you want to see it setting new all-time highs. And alongside the well-executed work program and everything, congratulations are in order. One of the things that I've wondered is if you might start work at the Royale before all the news from the Hank is even out.
So the Royale, we're still working on kind of data comps and the permitting's in. So we're dealing with permitting. So we're kind of just waiting to see what the turnaround's going to be on the permitting. So it's hard for me to give a definitive yes or no whether we're going to be working there before Christmas here. But we're going to keep everyone updated and keep the market updated as we go through the consultation and permitting process here. But yeah, it's well underway, and our fingers are crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, sorry to cut you off, but I was actually talking with the guys at the Braylard mine, which is a company called Avino, and they're in there right now working, and they're in there drilling. And we were talking, with these guys about some, synergies in terms of sharing and costs. They've got the drill in there now. They've got Atlas Drilling, who was our contractor for 2017 and 2018 at the Hank, and did an absolutely fantastic job for us drilling. And so it's kind of fortunate that our buddies there at Atlas are now in Braylorn, and so we're looking at when they wrap up at Braylorn, basically just move the drill on over and save us those mobilization costs, and we can do some pretty cost-effective drilling up there.
Yeah, it's all kind of skid drill road access, so we're looking forward to a logistically simplified program.
And I'll give a shout out to Coral Gold CLH on the venture. They'll be at the Metals Investor Forum at the end of September here for the first time, I believe. Coral Gold, very nice story from Nevada. Kind of a cash box right now, but always good things cooking in it. And it is, of course, a part of the group that is around Avino Silver there. Very well-established Vancouver group that does good business as far as I can tell. And they are very bullish, and the potential there for you to work with them on all kinds of stuff. I'm very glad to hear that. And I hope to see you guys too at the Metals Investor Forum at the end of the month. I don't think you'll be exhibiting there, but yeah, keen to see you in the crowd at least. It's a smaller show and quite a good one. If you're in Vancouver at that time, highly encourage it.
Yeah, I think, the Braylord area is kind of a bit of a forgotten area, even though it's still to this date is BC's largest producing gold region. So, we love the area down there, and we think there's a lot of potential, and hopefully we have a bit of a revival and a renaissance down there, because it's been a few years since there's been a lot of excitement in that neck of the woods.
Certainly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a historic mining camp, and one thing that most people out there don't know is more gold came out of Braylorn than anywhere else in British Columbia. I mean, they pulled 4 million ounces of gold out there at a head grade of a little over half an ounce per ton. So, and then that's another example of somewhere that's down in the trees, right? It's not, the easy low hanging fruit stuff that, a lot of companies went for in the 80s and the 90s and 2000s, right? So it's easy to see how areas like that can sort of get forgotten about. But there's a number of companies out. Cresval, there's another company that's got some claims in there. They're going to be doing some work in there. So it's good to see that people are doing work in that area and kind of recognize the potential again.
I wonder, Mr. Elston Johnston there, one of the advisors, a director also for Golden Ridge. I wonder any comments on, guidance that him or other advisors may have provided, to the company this summer?
Yeah, I think we have a really good team at Golden Ridge, so we're combining kind of the more senior, gray-haired, knowledgeable ladies and gents with some young energy and new ideas and new technology, and combining the analog and the digital age, and it seems to have been working really well for us right now, and hopefully that relationship and marriage continues to pay off here in the future.
Yeah. Well, great to see you continue working too. A lot of BC juniors facing short window left here as we move through September. I've heard that the conditions up there right now are very good for late season field work, but the snow's going to come at some point and shut things down.
As they say in Game of Thrones, winter is coming. So, so we're moving south to the Royale, where we can work all year and hopefully keep making discoveries.
Well, Chris, Mr. Chris Paul, VP Exploration, Golden Ridge Resources, thanks much for coming on the call with me today.
Oh, thank you, Peter.
Mike, always a pleasure.
Peter, yeah, always a pleasure. We'll talk very soon.
Thanks. Goodbye.